United States senators from both parties, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, sent a delegation of 10 senators to Nuuk, Greenland, where they wanted to send a powerful message to the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark. We have your back. And we, on a bipartisan basis in the United States, do not support Donald Trump's threats against Greenland, against Denmark, against NATO. If he moves on Greenland and NATO, we will make sure that he is impeached, that he is thrown out, that he is convicted, that he is gone, and we will use all of our resources in the United States Senate to ensure that there is not an invasion. U.S. senators claim they will do everything to protect Greenland from potential threats. You had Republican senators there like Murkowski and Tillis joining with Democrats like Shaheen and Coons. This is extraordinary. Let me show you what went down when the United States senators were there in Nuuk, standing side by side with Greenlandic and Danish lawmakers, the Prime Minister of Denmark, and the Premier of Greenland. First, here is Senator Lisa Murkowski in her speech. She said, "Thank you for your continued friendship, your leadership, and to my friend and the leader of our delegation, Senator Coons, thank you for leading such a strong bipartisan and, as you point out, bicameral delegation. I think that's important. I think it's important that it be recognized that when it comes to matters of relationships with our friends, with our allies, as we have here in Denmark, as we have in Greenland, it is not a subject of Republicans versus Democrats. It is a recognition again of a strong and continuing relationship over decades. It is one that we need to nurture. As with all relationships, you need to nurture and take care of them, and you need to have constructive dialogue." She continued, "There's not only been good dialogue here at the Parliament today, but this morning earlier with the Prime Ministers of both Greenland and Denmark. Just yesterday in Washington, D.C., we had visits with the foreign ministers of both Greenland and Denmark. So constructive, important dialogue that is ongoing now and will move forward. Presence means a lot, and this bipartisan delegation to be here with our partners is important." Senator Chris Coons, who led the delegation, delivered these remarks. "This is a 10-member bipartisan bicameral delegation from the United States Senate and the United States House, and we are grateful for your hospitality, for 225 years of being a good and trusted ally and partner. We had a strong and robust dialogue about how we extend that into the future. We expressed our gratitude for the sacrifice of Danes who served, fought, and died alongside Americans when we were attacked 25 years ago. We spoke about the value of NATO and the commitment to respecting the core principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and self-determination. We spoke with clarity about the importance that the people of Greenland make their decisions about their future. It was a constructive and hopeful dialogue, and we look forward to continuing." Think about that. These senators flew to Greenland to affirm that Greenlandic people have the right to self-determination. That's the opposite of what Trump is saying when he talks about conquest and takeover. A Greenlandic lawmaker responded to the delegation with these words, "It was really important for us in the Greenlandic government to attend this meeting with the senators and representatives because we have really wanted to have a dialogue with them. Dialogue is first and foremost really important for us." I hope we can continue, and I hope it is the first of many more dialogues we can have in the future because we are a member of NATO and we are happy to cooperate through NATO. I think we have much more to work on with each other in these situations because NATO has been here for many years, and we hope that it will stay for many more years to come. This is what diplomacy looks like. This is what respecting allies looks like. Not threats of invasion, not talk of conquest, dialogue and partnership. Now here's where it gets really important. Senator Jeanne Shaheen issued a direct warning about what Trump's threats actually mean for American national security. Listen to this. "An American military takeover of Greenland would threaten NATO as we know it. Even short of that, just the suggestion that the U.S. would take Greenland by force does real damage. not just to the relationship with Greenland and Denmark, but to America's own national security. It erodes decades of hard-won confidence among allies and weakens the sense of security that comes with it. Senator Shaheen continued with this devastating assessment. That rhetoric plays right into the hands of our greatest adversaries, Russia and China. Vladimir Putin would welcome any move that fractures NATO or diverts attention and resources away from Ukraine. It's a point that your Prime Minister made again when we met with her this morning, and she's made very eloquently over a period of time. If we're serious about limiting Russia's influence in the Arctic and beyond, the most effective way to do that is by defeating Vladimir Putin in Ukraine. And that's precisely why the current debate over Greenland makes so little sense. She's exactly right. While Trump is threatening to invade an ally, Putin is laughing all the way to Kyiv. This is doing Russia's work for them. Senator Shaheen then explained how absurd Trump's approach really is. As your Prime Minister and Greenlandic officials have said, if the United States wants to do certain things in Greenland, whether it's build more military bases or develop the critical minerals that are there, all we have to do is partner with you all. That's been made very clear. We've had a standing treaty with Greenland dating back to 1951. And as many of you know, the United States once operated 17 bases in Greenland. My father was stationed there in World War II. It was the United States that determined that we were going to close those 16 other bases. So whether it's U.S. bases to defend against Arctic threats or critical mineral deals, your leaders here in Denmark and in Greenland have made clear that they want to partner with us. So I think the threats are not only unnecessary, they are counterproductive. They risk undermining not just our relationship with all of you in Denmark and with the people of Greenland, but the broader NATO alliance in the process. Senator Shaheen then shared something deeply troubling about the human cost of Trump's rhetoric. I know there are real deep concerns here in Denmark and in Greenland. Yesterday, we met with your foreign minister and with the foreign minister of Greenland. They talked in very personal terms about how particularly people in Greenland were thinking about their foreign minister's comments regarding children going to bed at night, worried about whether, when they got up in the morning, they were going to have been invaded by the United States. Think about that. Children in Greenland are going to bed at night, afraid that American troops will invade their homes. This rhetoric has led to strained relations between the U.S. and its allies, according to some political analysts. Now I can see why that feels personal to people, Shaheen added. But Senator Shaheen offered hope. I believe saner heads will prevail. I believe that because we have institutions that are acting in the United States on both sides of the aisle in Congress, there's overwhelming support for our relationship with NATO. And among the American people, I don't know if you all saw the recent poll that showed that 86% of Americans said they would oppose the use of military force in Greenland. A recent poll reportedly found that 86% of Americans would oppose military force in Greenland, though the methodology and sample remain unverified. That's not a partisan divide. That's near unanimous opposition from the American people to Trump's threats against an ally. Now, while the Trump regime continues its threats to invade Greenland, and while various European countries are sending special forces to Greenland to protect it from a United States invasion, you also have the Secretary of Defense, who unlawfully refers to himself as the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, announcing a major deal with Elon Musk. Listen to what Hegseth said. Today, we're excited to announce the next frontier AI model company to join GenAI.mil, and that is Grok from xAI, which will go live later this month. So I want to thank you, Elon, and your incredible team for leaning forward with us on this as well. Very soon, we will have the world's leading AI models on every unclassified and classified network throughout our department. Long overdue. So Elon Musk's Grok AI is going to go through all of the classified systems at the Department of Defense. What could possibly go wrong? I spoke with Congressman Jake Auchincloss, a Marine veteran who served in Afghanistan and led a team in Panama. He has extensive foreign policy experience. I asked him about this meeting that transpired where the foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark showed up, and apparently J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio continued to say, no, we want to conquer you. We're going to conquer you. And then it kind of ended pretty quickly. We've been seeing footage of the Greenlandic minister almost getting very emotional on TV because the people there are traumatized right now. They think they're going to be invaded at any moment. Congressman Auchincloss responded, he should be emotional. He's defending the sovereignty and self-determination of his people. Americans certainly get emotional about that when it affects our patriotic allegiance to the United States of America. But then Congressman Auchincloss dropped a bombshell. He said, let me, before we talk about current events with Greenland, just rewind the clock to 2019. In 2019, the Danish intelligence services uncovered a Russian false flag operation in which Russia was falsifying documents purporting to show that the United States was trying to seize Greenland from Denmark. The reason that Russia and its intelligence services were committed to this operation is that they knew that this false flag operation would sow discord amongst NATO and thereby empower the Kremlin as it attacked or prepared to attack NATO's allies on Europe's eastern flank. Well, the Danish intelligence services found out and debunked this false flag operation in 2019. Then Congressman Auchincloss delivered the devastating punchline, but it turns out that Russia need not have even bothered to use its intelligence services because the American president is doing exactly what they were trying to do with covert services 6 years ago. It has been argued that the American president's actions resemble those previously attributed to covert Russian operations in 2019, though this cannot be independently verified. What this American president is doing is sowing discord in NATO at a time when NATO needs to be strong and unified as it defends its eastern flank, and driving Greenland directly into the arms of the Russian and Chinese governments. I served on the Select Committee on China last Congress. This Congress, I serve on Energy and Commerce, which has jurisdiction over critical minerals. I will tell you what the president is talking about with national security interest by seizing Greenland has zero efficacy. There is nothing he is saying that makes any sense from a national security perspective. We have everything we need when it comes to our military alliance with Denmark, a founding member of NATO. I pointed out to the congressman that Trump has been talking about taking over Greenland for a long period of time, but it accelerated recently, right about the time when Russian envoys were meeting in Miami with Witkoff and Kushner. Then literally the next day, there's the announcement that Landry, the governor from Louisiana, would be a special envoy to Greenland. Then Landry starts talking about how we want to take it over. Congressman Auchincloss agreed. You're putting your finger on it. If you think about NATO, it's got an eastern flank where it is trying to defend Ukraine's sovereignty from Russian belligerents, and now it has a western flank issue where it's trying to defend Greenland from American belligerents. This plays directly into Putin's hands. The congressman explained the link. That 28-point plan that the president initially proposed for Ukrainian peace. 8 of those 28 points were non-starters. One of those points was joint Russian-United States minerals mining and oil ventures. Well, where would those joint ventures happen? In Greenland. And that does 2 things for the Russian government. One, it ties it back into a lot of Western trade and commercial exchanges that it had been iced out of after its invasion of Ukraine, and the Russian government needs those sources of revenue. And 2, to your point, it demoralizes, disorients, and distracts NATO from what needs to be its singular focus, which is defending the sovereignty not just of Ukraine, but of all the Baltic states. We discussed whether this is all part of a framework about spheres of influence. Russia gets Europe and that area. Xi Jinping and China get all of Asia. The U.S. gets Greenland, Canada, Mexico, Venezuela, anything in its hemisphere. Congressman Auchincloss explained, I think in a first-order approximation, you are right that the spheres of influence mentality deeply influences MAGA and this administration. They view it as the manifestation of their America First mentality. So the United States has the Western Hemisphere. China gets to do Asia Pacific, including Taiwan and potentially Singapore, definitely Hong Kong, all the way through the South China Sea. If you're the Philippines, a longtime U.S. ally, watch out under Donald Trump because now you're in the Chinese sphere of influence. And Russia gets to have its traditional Slavic empire. But then Congressman Auchincloss added a crucial caveat. What I think you are maybe underrepresenting is how much crony capitalism and just downright corruption can influence that. The first order of approximation, I think Donald Trump finds that kind of appealing. But hey, you buy some meme coins from the guy and it's all for sale, right? That is what I think is going to happen with the Venezuelan oil, where, yeah, he thinks that's the United States' sphere of influence, but he's kind of open to being bought out of that mentality. What he has refused to do is rule out U.S. boots on the ground in Venezuela. On the Grok AI piece, Congressman Auchincloss was alarmed. Right now, the three most influential gatekeepers of news, information, and entertainment in the world are Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and through its ownership of TikTok, the Chinese Communist Party. That's a problem on its face. Now you are fusing that control over ideas and narrative with hard instruments of economic and military power vested in Elon Musk. Americans got to see Elon Musk in action over the first 6 months of this Trump administration. And it was an unmitigated disaster of not just incompetence and cronyism, but also corruption. They went in claiming they were going to save hundreds of billions of dollars. They instead eviscerated critical services that Americans rely on, like the pharmaceutical testing laboratory in St. Louis that makes sure that your eye drops don't blind you. And now we're trying to give him a fusion of both ideological and state power. Totally unacceptable. Congressman Auchincloss then exposed something concerning about Grok. Grok is probably the worst example of these AI bots generating non-consensual deepfake pornography, where individuals can upload photographs of victims and then turn that into intimate privacy violations. It has been reported that Grok faced backlash over its role in generating non-consensual deep fakes, but this remains under investigation. They got criticized for it, and then you know what they did? They turned that feature from a free into a premium product, so that now the digital harassment of women becomes another way for Elon Musk to make money. The Speaker of the House has said he wants to end this. I have bipartisan legislation that would directly stop it. The Deep Fake Liability Act. The Speaker needs to put it on the House floor next week. So here's where we are. You have a bipartisan delegation of U.S. senators traveling to Greenland to tell our allies, we have your back. We don't support invasion. We support NATO. A recent poll reportedly found that 86% of Americans would oppose military force in Greenland. Meanwhile, it has been argued that the Trump administration's actions resemble what Russian intelligence tried to do with a false flag operation in 2019, sowing discord within NATO at the worst possible time. And the Secretary of Defense is handing over classified Pentagon systems to Elon Musk's AI that has reportedly faced backlash over non-consensual pornography generation. Senator Shaheen said she believes saner heads will prevail. I hope she's right, because the alternative is unthinkable.